Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the Dre B. Rambo Show. I am your host, Dre B. Rambo. Welcome to the show, guys. This is our first episode ever in my new podcast studio where I am pre-recording. It is right now 5:51 in the morning. I hope you guys, by the time you guys are listening to this, because it's not live, you'll probably be 7:30 in the morning when you're on your way to work and trying to figure out how you're going to get through the rest of the week. It is Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is the hardest day of the week for some, mainly for me. I'm sure it is for you guys too. But there is something really special about Mondays, and that is that it is a fresh new start. It is a time to think about what you're going to do with the rest of your life, get a jump start on the week. And I personally love Mondays because I feel like it's like a good day for stepping stones, Getting yourself started on a Monday, if you get off started right, can really mean the difference between sending your life on a projection that's going to make real improvements. Believe it or not, I started running on a Monday. I had thought all weekend long about how I was going to do something different with my life and how I was going to start to get it together. And it was a Friday when I started thinking that. And I waited all the way until Monday because I knew I didn't have the discipline and the power to actually make that change on a weekend. And I waited till Monday. And Monday actually turned out to be okay because I've been on this trajectory now since I would say February 5th. That was when I started my new job, working at a law firm, which I hate doing. I don't hate my job. I just hate doing the whole legal thing. And but it was that day that I decided, okay, I'm going to make some changes because I knew that if I sat down at work for 8 hours a day, and my job's in Beverly Hills, so that's an hour and 20 minutes one way, sitting down in my car, and I knew I was going to be sedentary for most of the day, that I was going to have to do something drastic, something I never done before, and start running in the mornings because that was the only time that I could think of that I would be able to do that. And I've been doing it every day since. I was going to work out and lift weights, but the fact of the matter is just lifting weights and working out, I didn't think was going to give me the blood circulation that I need. Not to say that I don't need to work out. I should. It's obviously important to make sure that you get some exercise, especially when you get to be my age, you're going to need to work out them muscles. And so I knew that I was going to have to be very disciplined. And I knew that I was going to have to really make some changes because last time I was working a full-time job, because I had been out of work for about 3 months, when I had working at another firm, I had put on quite a bit of weight. I was eating a lot of snacks, snacking a lot, and I just wasn't feeling my best or looking my best. So I knew that going into this job that I was going to have to make some changes that were going to last. And so what's been working so far is just getting the runs in and making sure that every morning I'm staying consistent with that, doing my little video that I like to do in the morning. It's supposed to be a inspirational video about God and discipline, God and discipline. I really believe that not only that am I a warrior for Christ, that I'm supposed to go out there and help other people discover that they too are warriors for Christ. I'm not special in that regard. We're all just kind of sleeping through life. I know that I've slept through most of my life. Most of my life is a big blur. But I know that there's other people out there who are just like me who didn't seem to think anything at all about how they were living and couldn't understand why they were living a life that was not very meaningful or fulfilling, or even worse, feeling like you're living a life that you don't want to live, or you feel like you're living in despair. And it wasn't until I discovered that through Christ, I have power in me to make changes that were going to help me be the type of person that I wanted to be. And for a long time, I didn't even know what type of person I wanted to be. But I kind of had a sense of that I wanted to be a person who was the opposite of what I was. And what I was a guy who was a drunkard. I was a slug, a waster, a guy who just lived without any purpose and basically just sucked the life force out of others, never giving back, and pretty much not going through life, not even realizing that I was a problem, that my life was a problem, or that I was even harming anyone. I thought, I'm not harming anybody. I'm just doing my own thing. But unfortunately, we're so connected to each other. We have relationships with other people, your children, your kids, parents, friends, neighbors. We're connected whether we think we are or not. And everything that we do has an effect on other people. So as I was going through life, just being that guy who didn't think much about others and just what I was trying to do and thinking I was living an okay life and couldn't understand why that I was so miserable, is because I was not living a full life, a life with using all the potential and all the gifts that I was given for the betterment of society. I was actually sucking from society and not actually putting anything in it. And it's not to say you can't get anything from society, but if all you're doing is taking, then that becomes a problem. And God will manifest that in your life with the way you feel. If you're, I remember, right before I started jiu-jitsu, I was probably about 250 pounds, and I would sit in bed after having just overeaten, whatever it was, ice cream or just a big plate of asada or a bunch of taco. I remember I'd go to places like El Atacor, this Mexican place down the street I like to go to, and I would just pick up nacho fries, and I would have it, half carnitas, half asada with, extra cheese, and I'd just come home and it'd be like, I don't know, midnight after I had already had about a 12-pack of beer, shouldn't even be driving on the road, and I'd just go home and eat that late at night, about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd go to sleep right afterwards because I was so drunk. And then I couldn't understand why, I felt like crap the next day, And it's not really that I didn't understand. What it was, I couldn't understand why I was doing that to myself. Why was I seeking pleasure, trying to satisfy something using food, alcohol, sex, drugs, all that stuff. Not exercising, not caring about myself. I was surprised anybody even took an interest in me at all, with the way I was back then. And what I came to realize is that there's this battle going on. And I was talking about this for my morning little devotional thing I like to do. I don't even know what you call it, but I was thinking about this whole thing about this battle that goes on in our minds. And whether we realize it or not, we are in a battle. We are actually in a war over our well-being. Some people might say we're in a battle or a war over our souls, and I would have to agree with that as well. There are forces out there that are trying to take over, and so when it comes to how are we going to overcome these forces that are trying to run our lives into the ground, well, it's going to require a bit of effort on our parts. So the way I've been giving effort in that is by trying to figure out, okay, how do I control what's going on up here? because there's obviously two competing forces. There's this competing force that's trying to get us to do things that are good for us, and then there's this force over here that's trying to get us to do things that are bad for us. Why is it like that? I mean, even if you don't believe in God, you got to admit that there's this voice in our head, whether you think it's yourself or whether you think it's the Holy Spirit, whatever you think it is. One force is trying to get you to go left, and the other one's trying to get you to go right. And so, how do we overcome the one that wants us to go left? I mean, even if you wanted to go, even if you didn't want to go to the right and you wanted to go to the left, there's still that competing force. I have a hard time believing that people who do evil things don't feel anything, but perhaps they don't. I don't know. But a lot of the stuff that I do that I've been trying to do to overcome this whole thing that's going on in my head is by doing things that I find very difficult. Such as right now, the only thing I could think of doing is running, right? Because I hate running. It hurts my feet. And I do it early in the morning. I wake up at 3. That's my goal anyway. Today I woke up at 3:15. I sat in bed for like 15 minutes, and that voice, it's always there. It never goes away. It doesn't matter how long you've been. I mean, I've only been running since February 5th. It's March 11th today. So that's about 5 weeks, maybe a little over 5 weeks. And that little voice in my head never goes away. It's always telling me, just stay in bed. So I decided to not only run, something I hate to do, but wake up early, something I hate to do. And I'm getting to the point where I got to add one more thing. One more thing I got to add is timing myself. Because I noticed that I run, but I run really slow. I feel like I'm running fast, but I'm actually not running fast at all. I'm running like 55 minutes. It's actually, I felt like that. I think today it was even almost an hour to run 3.5 miles. It's actually 3.6, almost 3.7 miles. But still, I was running that in 35 minutes only a year ago as a POS. You know, I wasn't even taking care of myself. And I was able to run that in 35, 40 minutes. And right now I'm taking 50 to 55 to an hour. And that's just too long. I mean, how am I supposed to, I feel like I'm not running well enough. So I'm thinking about adding time in there. I'm just going to take a stopwatch and just put some time myself to try to motivate myself to run faster. Because when I go running with my friends or with my wife, I do a lot better. Because, now I have somebody keeping pace with me. Or not keeping pace with me, I'm keeping pace with them. Trying to keep up. And it's kind of like when you go to the gym with your buddy. It's some people, they say they do better alone. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. I think people do a lot better and they push themselves more when they have somebody there, spotting them or challenging them. If I see my buddy, he's lifting a lot more than me, I'm going to want to lift more because, I want to keep up. And that's what's up with that. So this battle over our minds, that's something that's just something that is always there. And if we don't engage in that battle over the mind, I noticed that for me, I just kind of go like this, where I just start to get, I start to do the things that I don't want to do, like overeating or engaging in activities that are unhealthy, And so with that, I try to control everything that's coming in and out of my mind. One of the things, and it doesn't just go for running, it could be for anything. One of the biggest struggles that I've been having right now is, how I respond to certain people in my life, like my wife, for example, where I would normally, or where I, instead of normally, where I would say I usually don't take her criticism very well. Where I might be like when she complains about something and I feel it's unjust, she complains about something not being done around the house. and I get upset because I'm like, dude, didn't you just see me? I just laid some brick right now. Or didn't you just see me put in a brand new refrigerator? Or didn't you just see me do some landscaping out in the yard where I just built you a brand new this or that? Or whatever it is. Didn't you just see me clean out and detail your car? Or whatever. And, maybe she gets upset and angry because I don't know, she doesn't feel I'm helping her out around the house. And then I get angry. And then I'm just like, man, like whatever, screw this. And the way I respond to her, so what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to do is not get upset and just hear her out and validate whatever it is that she's feeling. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere by being like, you're crazy. And I do this, and this. Like, what are you talking about? And getting all upset and then just totally basically telling her, like, you're full of shit. Pardon my language. Sorry, God. And she, isn't going to respond well to that. And then everything just goes to crap because I just got through basically pooping out of my mouth. And the whole thing that I've been trying to do is like, all right, you do the same thing over and over again. You get angry because of something that she said to you, and you responded like you always do. And now guess what? You guys are fighting or not talking to each other all day long because you guys are upset at each other because she told you something and you got all upset and defensive. And sometimes vice versa. I think we do it to each other. But the thing is that the enemy is always trying to get a foothold in your marriage. And by responding the way I do, I end up just making things worse. And then we're both feeling like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't be with somebody who's constantly nagging at me. And she'll be like, I can't be with somebody who just doesn't validate my feelings and doesn't respect anything I say, yada, yada, yada. And although it seems like a small thing, it really isn't, because if the marriage breaks down, then that family breaks apart. And if the family breaks apart, then the kids suffer. And if the kids suffer, they could end up turning against God, thinking that, God isn't real. My own dad or my stepdad talks a big game, but in the end, he's a liar. He doesn't live by what he says, right? And that's critical because people need to be able to, especially if, as a believer, or even not even if you're a believer, if you're just a human being who, people want to be able to, you want people to be able to trust you and know that you're a person who's reliable. You have to live out your values, whatever those values are, because we're living them. We're projecting our values every single day. And so when it comes to controlling what's going on up here, we have to recognize that every single thing is a battle. Everything's a battle. And it's a battle for, I honestly believe everything's a battle for your soul, because everything's a battle against God's word. If the enemy can break apart your marriage, then it's just one more victory for the enemy, because that's what the enemy wants. Another thing that I've been trying to control, especially as a believer, is how I respond to the people who are closest to me, like my parents or my siblings. Especially when I talk about God or when I try to talk about things like that. It's easy. It's easy when you're talking to like a stranger or to a friend not to cross certain lines. If you can tell that they're not really feeling what you're saying, or something like that, even if it's not about God, but if you're just challenging them on something, you're not going to step over a certain line. You're not going to disrespect them or get defensive with them because they're your friends, and your friends won't tolerate that. But your family or people really close to you, they're always going to be there. And I don't know about you, if you're the type of person that never has arguments with your mother or something like that, hey, God bless you, man. Good for you. But that's not a reality for me, for example. So one thing that I've been working on is like when I'm talking to my mom, for example, I'll literally work on like my zen, like be peaceful. I mean, I am generally peaceful with my mom, but even more so because, my mom's not a believer, or she'll say she is, but she really isn't. Or she doesn't say she is, actually. She openly tells me that it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And I'll be like, no, mom, but it's real. Like, look at the Bible. You got to read it and blah, blah. And all that is useless. At the end of the day, what I realize is that I need to work on how I respond to people, how I respond to those types of words. And so what I've been trying to do is control my emotions with everything that I do. Everything that I do, I want to control my emotions. I want to control how I respond to people. Because people, especially your family or your wife or your kids, need to know that you got yourself under control. I mean, it's one of the hardest things to be able to have emotional control, to be like a rock, But that's something I certainly want. I don't want to get all bent out of shape just because my wife is yelling at me. I want to be that pit bull who's just, walking around doing his business, and his Chihuahua wife is barking at him, running around, and trying to get a reaction. I'm biting on his ear and all that. And the pit bull is kind of like, whatever. It just emanates strength, and he's strong and doesn't have to, worry about or concern himself with the little chihuahuas. Having control over yourself right now is all about what I'm about. It's all about self-control. I mean, because without it, we're just kind of like floating around in the wind. If we're easily moved one direction or the other, then we are not in control. And so practicing self-control, self-discipline is critical. Like one area that I need to work on is like these podcasts. Like I can't just come over here and just start talking out of my ass. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing. But I think the show would benefit from me sitting here for a couple hours and actually preparing my show, right? Prepare the show. I mean, that's a discipline that you have to do. And, I'll be honest, I'm super stretched thin with all the things that I got going on. I got a business over here. I got another business I'm trying to get over here. I'm trying to get like a t-shirt business off the ground. I got a legal document business, preparation business that I got over here. I got a regular day job that's all the way out in Beverly Hills. So I got to drive all the way out there. And then I'm trying to do this podcast. And to top it all off, I got a family who, needs me around and needs me to spend time with them and be engaged. And I also have to, do everything I can to implant little pockets of Jesus. Make sure that my family is always thinking about Jesus. Preaching to my family and making sure that they understand that our purpose on this earth is to serve God. It's not to serve ourselves. And that's one of the biggest problems, I think, in our society today is that everything around us is telling us to serve ourselves. Everything's marketed to us and is luring you away from your true purpose, which is to worship and to serve the Lord. That's what everything is. It's a big distraction. watching football or watching basketball games and, spending your time doing things that are not productive is all designed to keep you from God, keep you from doing your part to advance God's kingdom. And I know it sounds like eye rolling, like, oh God, this guy is like, I like watching basketball. I like watching football. This guy, I feel like he's talking crap about me. Yeah, I'm talking crap about you, and I'm talking crap about me. I'm no different. I waste time all the time, but I'm worse because I don't even. At least you have a football, the sport of football that you probably very knowledgeable about. You probably know the players. When you go to a barbecue, you can talk to the other guys about the game. I'm worse. I'm like, I know a whole lot of nothing. I don't know anything about football and basketball and all that. So when I waste my time, I'm not even being productive when I waste my time. But the point I'm trying to make is that we have certain things that we need to do. If you're a believer, we have certain things that we should be doing to try to serve God, to advance his kingdom, to tell other people about Jesus, because there's people out there who are not doing too well, suffering. And when people are suffering and they have nobody, bad things happen. I mean, I'm not trying to say, we're trying to prevent school shooters, although that I guess we are, right? Because we need, as a society, to have healthy people. I always wonder, what makes somebody shoot up a school? And I would suppose that they're very angry and hurt, and they got, they probably feel helpless, whatever it is. I mean, they fall into this victim mindset where they got, no one and nothing to live for. And they just say, screw it, I hate my life, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to just harm as many people as I can, which is obviously very crappy. But I would imagine that reaching out to people or doing something, it's not to say your responsibility is to, go out there and, help random people. But it's to project a life, project that, there is a meaningful way of living our lives that can emanate out into society and help other people, find their way to Jesus. And so anyway, this has been 1.5 hour of straight up rambling nonsense. If you made it this far, wow. But it's not going to detour me from getting this podcast off the ground and preparing it. And that's what I think I need to do, is prepare my podcast so that I'm not just talking about some random BS. But anyway, I'm trying to break double-digit subscribers. We got 9 subscribers, guys. One more and we're double digits. So we're almost there. We're on our way to 5 million. I'm on my way to 5 million subscribers. And the journey of 1,000 miles, guys, is really what it is. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. And, I'll catch you guys on the next one. And just remember, we're in the battle, whether we think we are or not. We're in a battle for our minds, and keep a watch out for that. This is the one I wanted right here. We're in a battle for our minds. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. Stay holy.